Welcome back. So we also hear of women, girls engaging in sexual acts in exchange for food. How true is this assertion or allegation?
Horrific tales of girls being forced, and women actually being forced into prostitution. That's abuse. Some of the abuse is even by the government officials, right? In those camps. Now, a lot of the reports that we're getting is that a lot of these young ladies and women are so afraid to report those government officials. So what we're saying clearly to the Senate and this ad hoc committee is you need to provide protection. You need to create safe spaces where every single IDP knows that the government has their back. And then they can come forward and really share. They are the ones that are experiencing this.
Well, beyond just distributing stuff, that is food items and other relief materials, is there any plan in place to empower the IDPs post the distribution?
It's the issue of empowerment is something that's particularly close to my heart because I have seen in my visits to several camps for internally displaced people, I've seen that nobody wants to live on handouts. We are not a nation of people who have the sense of entitlement. I'm just going to sit down and somebody else will come and feed me. We are Nigerians. We are industrious. We are hardworking. We have our pride and dignity. Being an internally displaced person is just something that happened to you. It's not part of your genetic makeup. It's not who you are. I want the dignity they had to be preserved for many years after this incident. And the best thing you can do is give them a skill. It might be too late now to tell a father with 5 children who have escaped crises to go and learn the basics of physics and chemistry or government and history. So education might be out of the way now for them, but we could teach them skills that will provide food for them, provide education for the children, and restore their dignity. There is nothing as dignifying as earning your own bread and making sure you live on your own and you're responsible for yourself.
Well, you earlier mentioned figures and not so good figures, of course. However, these figures cannot be reduced if camp officials and government officials continue to divert the relief materials. So what are you guys doing, or what should be done to bring those behind such acts behind bars?
Yes. Okay, I can remember saying that I think it's going to be really tricky. Yeah. And the reason is because all the response we have now to the IDPs, they are not legally binding. So there is no policy in place, there is no strategy in place that laid out all these principles, all these rules and regulations of what to do if XYZ mismanage funds or mismanage resources. So I think it's very, very tricky at this point. And you know how things are in Nigeria. Sometimes there are lots of loose ends. You start following a situation and it never gets to the end of it. I think advice sort of to the government is that they should, as quickly as possible, adopt the national policy on IDPs, July 2012, and they should also domesticate the Kampala Convention. These will allow people to be able to follow through a process, follow through implementation, follow through adoption. It will make things easier. In essence, if there's a mismanagement, you can actually trace it and say this is the person responsible for it, or this is the organization responsible for it. If there is no binding policy, it will be very, very difficult in any country of the world to trace mismanagement. It will be difficult.
All right, so just in wrapping up, what would you say will be the way forward?
We do need advocacy to get a proper policy in place. We need to domesticate the Kampala Convention and the resolutions that were arrived at that particular meet. And we should put as much pressure on government to get this in place. But having said that, we have NEMA. We have a committee on refugees. We have this interministerial committee that has been set up and the senatorial committee set up. So with all these committees in place, we should face the priority, which is getting food to people dying. It is a humanitarian crisis, and we all have to treat it as such.
Being internally displaced can happen to anybody. It just differs. Maybe the situation where you are displaced could differ, but it could happen to anybody. It could be because of urbanization. It could be because of flood. It could be because of conflicts like the majority of what we are facing right now. But please, we should consider these people as part of us. They are human beings first. Think of it. They are being separated from their families. They've lost all their social status, no matter how small it is, and this can have psychosocial effect on them. So we need to come together in order to help these people build their lives again.
All right, that will be all. Thank you for coming on the program this week and sharing your thoughts and perspectives, of course, on the situation of the IDPs and also the way forward. We'll take a short break, and when we return, we'll take a few messages and also review the most viewed videos on our YouTube channel in the past week. Stay with us.
The recession for many individuals. And
this week's most viewed videos begins with President Muhammadu Buhari assuring Nigerians that the dire economic situation the country finds itself at the moment will last only for a while.
For this type of oven, although we use charcoal here, but the reason was
the video of a young Nigerian who made a biofuel machine comes in as the fourth most viewed video.
Here is another thing here. We have this gadget here. What this one actually does, because it's not only the hot vapor that accompanies it. I was able to discover that something like methane, ethane, and all those are flammable gas.
In third place is the highly talked about speech by former Anambra State Governor Peter Obi during the platform in Lagos. Second spot is occupied by the protests that trailed the Edo State governorship election result announcement. While in first place is the video of River State Governor Nyesom Wike foiling an attempt by operatives of the Department of State Security to arrest a judge in Port Harcourt, River State.
Okay, please don't be you can go. Tell your men to go, please.
Well, there you go. Those were the most viewed videos on our YouTube channel in the past week. However, with the situation already in a bad state, as many as 75,000 children are likely to die over the next year in famine-like conditions created by Boko Haram if donors don't respond quickly. And that is according to the United Nations Children's Fund, that's UNICEF. The government also must play its part by ensuring its officials do not divert or siphon materials donated to cut down on the number projected to lose their lives, sadly, in the midst of plenty. And that's the program this week. Thank you for being a part of it. And also, remember, it continues online via the social media addresses showing on your screen. I'm Victor Matthias. Thank you for watching.